It's surprising how something as simple as sleep can hold the power to quietly shape our health in ways we barely notice. Especially after turning 60, when our body's rhythm starts changing, our hormones behave differently, and suddenly the same habits that once seemed harmless start causing real trouble. And what's even more alarming, Japan's oldest practicing doctor at 104 years old says that the biggest reason people in their 60s and beyond develop diabetes isn't just sugar or food or genetics, it's the way they sleep. Most people don't realize that the time they go to bed can actually determine how their body handles blood sugar. Especially after 60, your body's internal rhythm, your biological clock, becomes much more delicate. Japan's oldest practicing doctor explains that your pancreas, which controls insulin, doesn't just work on demand, it follows a natural daily rhythm. When you go to bed late, or when your bedtime changes frequently, that rhythm gets thrown off. The pancreas doesn't release insulin properly, and as a result, your blood sugar levels can stay elevated through the night. Even if you're eating healthy or walking regularly, this small disruption can quietly raise your fasting glucose without you ever realizing why. Think of your body like a small, well-run factory. During the day, the factory is in full operation. It's producing energy, burning calories, managing sugar, and keeping you active. But at night, it's supposed to slow down, restock supplies, repair machinery, and reset for the next day. Now imagine that you keep the factory open longer than it's designed to run. The workers, your organs, don't get enough rest, and the next day they're already tired and inefficient. That's exactly what happens when you sleep too late. Your pancreas doesn't get the recovery time it needs, so it becomes sluggish and your blood sugar starts creeping up night after night. The Japanese doctor often says, "You can't heal when your clock is confused." He's seen thousands of patients in their 70s and 80s whose fasting glucose improved just by adjusting bedtime, not by changing their diet. It's not about sleeping longer, it's about sleeping in sync with your body's natural signals. In Japan, elderly people in longevity villages tend to go to bed shortly after sunset and wake up early, aligning perfectly with their circadian rhythm. Their insulin works more efficiently because their body follows the rise and fall of daylight. Science supports this too. Studies show that people who consistently sleep before 11 p.m. have better glucose control and lower diabetes risk, even when compared to those who sleep the same number of hours but go to bed later. The reason is that insulin sensitivity peaks earlier in the evening and drops sharply after midnight. So if you're awake late, your body has a harder time processing glucose, even if you're not eating. And it's not just about avoiding late nights once in a while. The real problem comes from inconsistency. Going to bed at 10 one night and at 1 in the morning the next confuses your body. It's like constantly changing time zones. Your hormones, digestion, and blood sugar all lose coordination. The Japanese doctor recommends choosing a fixed bedtime around 10 or 10:30 and sticking to it even on weekends. He calls this sleeping with the sun. It doesn't mean you have to force sleep, but dimming the lights, avoiding screens, and winding down before that time helps your brain prepare naturally for rest. After 60, your body responds more slowly to change, so even small irregularities affect you more deeply. When you fix your sleep timing, your pancreas starts to function more rhythmically, your metabolism stabilizes, and your morning energy improves effortlessly. It's such a simple shift, but it quietly protects you from something as serious as diabetes. Light is one of the most underestimated disruptors of sleep and blood sugar, especially after the age of 60. Japan's oldest doctor explains that our bodies are designed to respond to natural cycles of light and darkness. During the day, sunlight signals your brain to stay alert and active, while darkness at night triggers the release of melatonin, the hormone that helps you fall asleep and keeps your metabolism balanced. But in the modern world, even after sunset, our homes glow with artificial light from phones, televisions, lamps, and digital clocks. To younger people, this might seem harmless, but for older adults whose eyes and circadian rhythm are more sensitive, even a faint light can confuse the brain into thinking it's still daytime. When that happens, your melatonin drops, your stress hormone cortisol rises, and your liver starts releasing stored glucose into your bloodstream preparing your body for daytime energy. So, while you're lying in bed thinking you're resting, your blood sugar could actually be climbing. The Japanese doctor often calls light the silent sugar trigger. He says many of his elderly patients came to him with perfectly fine diets and lifestyles, yet their fasting blood sugar remained stubbornly high. The common factor: they all slept with some light. Whether it was a hallway lamp, a television left on, or the dim glow of a charging cable. Once he asked them to sleep in complete darkness, their blood sugar readings improved within days. It's not magic, it's biology. Melatonin doesn't just regulate sleep. It also helps your body use insulin effectively. When your melatonin is suppressed by light, your insulin resistance increases and glucose builds up in your blood. The effect is small on a single night, but over months and years, it becomes a major factor in developing diabetes. Many elderly people also struggle with waking up during the night to use the bathroom, and they often switch on a bright light each time. But the doctor advises against that, suggesting instead a very dim, red-toned night light that doesn't interfere with melatonin production. Blue light, which comes from phone and TV screens, is especially harmful. It penetrates deep into the eyes and tells the brain that it's morning. That's why checking messages or watching TV right before bed can delay sleep and raise nighttime blood sugar. The doctor even recommends avoiding LED screens for at least 30 minutes before sleeping. Instead, he encourages gentle, calming activities in low light, like listening to soft music or doing light reading under a warm lamp, to allow melatonin to rise naturally. He often shares a story about an 82-year-old patient who had struggled with high fasting glucose despite following a strict diet. All she did was remove her small bedside lamp and stop watching television before sleep. Within 2 weeks, her morning sugar levels dropped and her energy during the day improved dramatically. Her doctor explained that her body had finally returned to its natural rhythm: darkness for rest, light for activity. The truth is, our bodies are ancient systems living in a modern world of artificial light. After 60, respecting darkness isn't just about sleeping better. It's about giving your body a chance to restore balance, produce enough melatonin, and regulate blood sugar naturally. One of the most common yet overlooked reasons blood sugar rises in older adults has nothing to do with what they eat, but when they eat it. Japan's oldest doctor emphasizes that after 60, your digestion slows down naturally, your metabolism changes pace, and your pancreas becomes less efficient at managing glucose late in the evening. When you eat dinner too close to bedtime, within an hour or two before sleep, your body ends up working overtime during the very hours it's supposed to be resting and repairing. The stomach keeps digesting, the pancreas continues releasing insulin, and your liver processes nutrients when it should be detoxifying and resetting. As a result, your blood sugar remains elevated throughout the night, and your body never fully enters deep, restorative sleep. That's why people who eat late often wake up feeling tired, bloated, or even hungry again despite eating well the night before. The Japanese doctor calls this the nighttime sugar trap. He explains that insulin sensitivity is strongest earlier in the day, especially in the morning and afternoon when your body expects food. But by evening, insulin becomes weaker, which means your body struggles to move glucose into your cells efficiently. So, if you eat a heavy or late dinner, that glucose lingers in your bloodstream far longer than it should. Over time, this pattern can lead to insulin resistance and higher fasting glucose levels. Even if your overall diet is healthy, the solution he gives to his patients is simple but powerful. Finish dinner at least 3 hours before going to bed. This gives your digestive system time to break down the food, your insulin to complete its work, and your body to enter sleep mode without interference. He often shares the story of one of his longtime patients, a 92-year-old woman who had done everything right. She walked daily, ate balanced meals, and never touched sweets. Yet her blood sugar levels remained high. After examining her routine, he realized she was eating dinner around 9:30 p.m. and going to bed at 10. When she shifted dinner to 6:30 p.m. without changing anything else, her blood sugar improved significantly within just 2 weeks. She also noticed she slept more soundly and no longer woke up feeling fatigued. This simple adjustment known as the 3-hour rule, is now one of the doctor's most recommended habits for older adults. He also advises that evening meals should be lighter, more soups, steamed vegetables, and easily digestible proteins, rather than heavy or oily dishes. Large meals at night not only disrupt sleep, but cause reflux, bloating, and unnecessary spikes in glucose. In Japan, many elderly people follow this naturally. They eat early, often by sunset, and enjoy a warm bath or light walk afterward, allowing their bodies to relax before bedtime. Their fasting glucose levels stay stable, and their digestion remains strong well into old age. The doctor often says, "Your pancreas needs to sleep when you do." By finishing dinner early, you give it permission to rest, and that single act helps your entire body maintain balance through the night and beyond. When it comes to sleep, most people focus only on how long they're in bed, but after 60, the real key is not just the number of hours, it's the quality and consistency of those hours. Japan's oldest doctor explains that both too little and too much sleep can quietly throw off your blood sugar balance. Sleeping less than 6 hours a night deprives your body of deep restorative rest, while sleeping more than 9 hours can actually confuse your hormonal system and disrupt your metabolic rhythm. The body runs on patterns, and when those patterns become irregular, hormones like insulin, cortisol, and melatonin lose their natural balance. This imbalance can make it harder for your cells to use glucose properly, leading to elevated blood sugar even if your diet hasn't changed. The doctor calls sleep the nightly reset button, and when you either skip it or overuse it, your internal systems stop working in harmony. He's treated countless patients who thought sleeping longer would make them healthier, only to find their blood sugar and energy levels actually worsened. Oversleeping can dull your body's sensitivity to insulin because it reduces daytime activity and alters cortisol timing. Cortisol naturally peaks in the morning to help you wake up and lowers in the evening to prepare you for sleep. But if you sleep irregular hours or too long, that cortisol rhythm shifts, leaving you groggy, less alert, and with higher morning glucose levels. On the other hand, sleeping too little forces your body to produce more stress hormones throughout the night, which directly raises blood sugar. It's a delicate balance that becomes more fragile with age, and consistency is what protects it. The Japanese doctor always tells his elderly patients to find their sleep rhythm sweet spot, which usually falls between 7 and 8 hours a night. More important than duration, though, is going to bed and waking up at the same time every day. When your sleep pattern is predictable, your body learns exactly when to produce hormones, digest food, and regulate blood sugar. This natural synchronization between your brain and body is what keeps your metabolism stable. In Japan's longevity regions, older adults often wake up with the sunrise and go to bed shortly after sunset, creating a steady daily rhythm that supports healthy insulin function. He once shared the story of a 78-year-old man who had been struggling with unstable blood sugar despite medication. The man's sleep pattern was irregular. Sometimes he went to bed at 9 p.m., sometimes after midnight, and he often slept in late. Once the doctor helped him fix his schedule to a consistent 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. routine, the man's fasting glucose dropped, his energy improved, and his digestion became smoother within just 3 weeks. The doctor explained that his body had finally found its natural rhythm again. It wasn't about sleeping more. It was about sleeping right. After 60, the body depends on rhythm more than effort, and when sleep becomes steady and deep, metabolism, energy, and blood sugar follow that same steady flow. One of the most underestimated factors that quietly raises blood sugar after 60 is emotional stress before bedtime. Japan's oldest doctor says that it doesn't matter how healthy your diet is or how early you sleep. If your mind isn't calm, your body cannot rest or heal. As we age, the connection between emotional health and physical health becomes even stronger. When you go to bed with tension, anxiety, loneliness, or worry, your brain triggers what's called the fight or flight response. This response releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which tell your body to stay alert. These hormones also instruct your liver to release stored glucose into the bloodstream for quick energy, as if you were preparing to face a threat. But instead of using that glucose for action, it stays in your blood through the night, raising your sugar levels even while you're asleep. The doctor often explains it simply: the body cannot heal in fear. When your mind is restless, your sleep becomes shallow. You might fall asleep, but you don't enter deep, restorative stages. That's why people who go to bed worried often wake up tired or tense, even after a full night's rest. Chronic emotional stress before bed gradually wears down your adrenal glands, increases inflammation, and creates a pattern where blood sugar remains high even on days when you eat very little sugar. The Japanese doctor noticed this especially in elderly patients who lived alone or carried unresolved emotional burdens. Their glucose levels stayed elevated despite no dietary issues, and the common link was poor emotional rest before sleep. To counter this, he teaches his patients what he calls peace rituals before bed. These are small, calming activities that signal safety to the brain: taking a warm bath, doing slow breathing, gentle stretching, or writing down 3 things they're grateful for. Each of these actions lowers cortisol, slows the heart rate, and prepares the body for real rest. He also recommends avoiding emotionally charged conversations or upsetting news right before bedtime. The brain doesn't distinguish between physical and emotional stress, so even watching stressful TV content can trigger the same hormonal reaction as a real-life threat. He once shared the story of an elderly woman who had been struggling with high fasting glucose for years. She ate perfectly, walked daily, and took her medication, but her sugar remained high. When the doctor asked about her nights, she admitted she often replayed worries about her children before sleeping. He guided her to spend 10 minutes each night doing deep breathing and repeating a calming phrase. Within a few weeks, her fasting glucose improved, and she described feeling lighter each morning. It wasn't a change in diet, it was a change in her emotional state before bed. The doctor always says, peace before sleep is the best insulin. After 60, when hormone balance becomes more delicate, emotional calm isn't just mental wellness. It's metabolic medicine. Creating a peaceful mental space before sleeping allows the body to relax, regulate insulin naturally, and restore the gentle harmony that keeps blood sugar in check.